And last but not least, let's talk about the fifth and final season of Star
Sure.
Trek Discovery. So, Ricardo, of course, you being
Sure.
the tricky a way to do a synopsis for this, right?
Right.
And at the end of this review here, we'll just share our final thoughts on this series here, right? So, as I've said before, when it came to Star Trek Discovery, every time we talk about Star Trek, I am not a Trekkie, right? I'll start off with this, right? It was season 3 of Star Trek Discovery that not only made me really enjoy Discovery itself, right?
Right.
But it actually made me serious enough to check out the original series, TOS, right? So
Right.
because I felt like that season in particular was leaning towards it just kind of reminded me, or at least put me on to the reason why this franchise have pretty much lasted so long, and I would say this will stand the test of time. I don't see this franchise ending anytime soon, right? Even if Paramount Plus shuts down and whatnot, I think that this franchise will literally go on until the end of time, right? Pretty much. That's how strong this is, right? And that's how loyal the fan base is, right? But yeah, so I just enjoyed that season so much, right? And I was, it just stepped up. It just got better from season 1 up until that point, right? And then there was, well, the last one, season 4, where I felt like it really was kind of reminding us again, with all the flashiness and all the aliens and all that kind of stuff. It's still about diplomacy and endearment and empathy, right, and unity and all that kind of stuff. There's really strong positive themes in this show, and they resonate so much in that, right? Especially with the premise involving this sort of like weird these weird aliens that were basically doing like these tests, but in the process of doing the tests, they were destroying planets and whatnot, and just
Right.
how all that kind of came together and whatnot. What the
And
tendency, that's what they call it, yeah.
yeah.
How that all played out, I thought just made for a really heartwarming finale. It just really, really got to me, right? Totally works, right? So, but I do know that when it comes to the diehard Trekkie fans now, yeah, Discovery had a sort of a rocky start, right? Like I was actually saw an article this morning, actually, time I was recorded this, that why the show started off so dark, and Trekkies were like, oh, this show is so dark and blah blah blah, all kind of stuff. And apparently the showrunner said that was supposed to be the point, and it was supposed to
Yeah, that's
reflect like
the
what was going
idea.
on
Because
with
that,
Trump being in power and
that's
all
the
that kind of
idea
stuff,
because
you know.
that's the idea because of the character of Burnham and where she is in her life and how
Yeah,
she evolved, blah, blah, blah. And they address all of
yeah.
that in yeah.
But because I am not versed in all things Star Trek, like I saw the first season, and I enjoyed it, right? Really enjoyed it, way more than I expected. But I did come out of it like, my God, that's so dark. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? But
Right.
point is, right? I do not know much about the franchise and the world of Star Trek to understand the nitpicks that Trekkies will have with the show here, right? I just sort of see it. There's callbacks and deep cuts that I don't know about, but I'm just more looking at the emotion of it, and I think the emotion is what really sells this, right? The representation, which I'll get into later, the characters and whatnot. And last point I'll make, and I think this is the reason why the show really worked with me, right? Because when it came to the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, right? That's the Kelvin timeline, I believe that's what it's called, right? That one brought like flash and flare to it, right? It's the lens flare, it's how like flashy everything looks, and just how just how legit dope the visuals look like, right? So yeah, so for somebody like me who was not a Trekkie, I just went into it. It just delivered on the action, and it was just flashiness, right? Just a lot of style to it, right? But this one, like Discovery for me, took the style from the J.J. Abrams trilogy, but did their own spin on it as well. But they added substance to it, right? So I just felt like with this show in general, yeah, you just had this nice even balance of style and substance. Yes, this show boasts some fantastic visuals. I'll let you know one time. This season, boy, my God, the visuals in this, boy, wow! Like they really stepped things up from
Yeah, it looked
season
great.
4, and I
Yeah.
would know because I rewatched season 4, and I see this one. It's like, God damn, like Star Trek, by Star Trek money, dog. No wonder Sneaker leave season 7 of Walking Dead and jump onto the show by Star Trek money, son. Wow, right? But yeah, but again, is that blend, that even blend of style and substance that really make me appreciate this show, right? So it's like they just took the visual qualities of that Abrams trilogy, but took the essence of the Star Trek series themselves, whether it's Deep Space Nine or Next Generation. Two shows I would admit I still haven't seen, but they're still
Right.
into my watch list. But most
Well, yeah,
importantly,
these
TOS. You know,
yeah,
it really
these
feels like it's
actually
tackling back to those shows.
right. So this season actually pulled. Well, this again to this season now. So it pulls from a one of the more popular episodes, somewhat popular episodes of TNG.
Uh,
An episode called The Chase. Right. So in
all
the
right.
resolution to that episode, you learn. Basically, it's to explain why it is that everybody's look like humans with plasticine on their forehead, right?
Oh, okay. I got it.
Right. This is
Yeah.
they basically give an in-universe explanation for that. What you learn is that this very old race, what we call the progenitors, basically see life in the galaxy to evolve in a certain way to make sure that human-like entities pop out. So that's why it has so much of them. Every race in the Trek universe have a very distant common ancestor. Right. That's the explanation. And basically, but we never learn how they did it or whatever it is. They just were basically like akin to gods, this old ancient race. So this time they explain it. They say, all right, well, they're actually going to find the technology this time, and they have these two villains called Mal and Locke, who are chasing the technology for themselves to get power because they get into trouble for a reason. And yeah, that's the entire season. It's just to find this technology and solve it and sort it out. But what you learn, so it's three big things that they address in the season. In DS9, you meet a race called the Breen. We never see what the Breen look like or what they look like. Well, they show what they like and the culture and things. So
Oh,
we
okay.
explore the Breen. We explore the Breen this time, and then they answer two big questions at the end of the season for the finale. But that's about
Yeah.
it. And then they address
And just to let you all know, we will get into spoiler territory
right, big spoilers.
later
Right,
on, especially when it comes to that finale, because it's a
right,
series finale, guys. So I mean, come
right.
on. Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, right? Because I want you actually, since you are the Trekkie, so you could tell me how wrong I am. But I'll just share my thoughts on this season here, right?
Sure.
I absolutely enjoy the season.
Yeah, I thought it
I
was okay.
can't say
Yeah,
that it is the best season, honestly. Because because I only rewatched the fourth one. I remember really enjoying the third one. But I
right.
don't remember too much of season 1 and 2. But I absolutely enjoyed the season here, right? For one thing, like I said before, the visuals, boy, like I said, Ricardo, they step things up from the
Yeah,
last season. There's some like just amazing looking visuals, but just so sleek though, just so crisp though in terms of just the style and whatnot, right? Again, Star Trek money drill, like wow, you know what I mean? That it's so funny because last week I talked about Atlas and how artificial the visuals look, right? Like I don't know if you saw Atlas's yet, right? But I would
nope.
say tick watch a little scene of Atlas and then watch
Yeah,
some VFX shot of this and you will see the difference. You'll see difference, right?
no, yeah,
Where
this camera
it
always looks good.
looks,
Like,
yeah, it just looks great, right? And I'm just amazed at how they pull this off. Too. Like I wish I knew what the budget was for this show for this season, but I don't know. They just really knocked out the park with this one, right? When it took the characters I really admired as well, right? Whether it's Michael Burnham, played by Miguel Suniqua, right? Suniqua, Martin Green, or Saru or Action Saru, right?
right.
Played by my boy Doug Jones, right? I just love where they just took these characters, but in particular, I really love what they did with my boy Cleveland Booker, right? Played by David Ajala, right? Where yes, in the last season his planet was destroyed now, so now he's kind of helping the Federation now, and yeah, he gets involved in the adventure as well, right? I love what they did with Saru as well, because they set it up in the last season where he hooks up with what's the name boy? Ambassador
Yeah,
sorry, not
I forgot her name,
ambassador.
but the Vulcan president. Yeah,
President Tarina, yeah.
right.
And I won't lie though, that relationship that they have, boy, is so
Yeah, good.
sweet, boy,
Yeah,
so adorable. I love how they talk to each other. I love how they try to quantify their feelings towards each other, how they try to make logic out of it. It's just so cute, but just like, oh, and surprise, yeah, they hook up. They actually do get married, right? And just slight spoiler, even though we get the spoiler section. I love that they didn't spend too much time on the wedding. It's just like they get married, boom, that's it, right?
yeah,
No wedding ceremony that the showrunners had to conjure up. It's just they get married, boom, that's it. I love that, right? But even though they're together, they still have a part to play in this whole scenario involving the brain and the progenitors and all that kind of stuff. And I love how they make it work, right? So even though Saru is not in the thick of things when it comes to the action, well, he actually gets one episode with Michael, well, his last adventure, if you will. And that was great. Yeah, you know what I mean? They get the time to shine. I really dug that, right? I also love how they continue to explore the character of Zora, right? Well, the AI of Discovery. Well, if you remember from the last season, she became
Yeah,
more sentient. She became more emotional and in tune with the emotions. I love how they explore that even more. Um, Even the side characters, I was really admiring what they did with that, right? So like Adira, for example, right? I love what they did with that character. How well, their relationship with oh gosh, with Gray as well, you know what I mean? And I just love both actors and just how they convey this legit love for each other and whatnot, right? But it's all about being sworn to a particular cause and whatnot, and I just love how they play that there, right? I was happy to see McGill, Sylvia Tilly return as well, right? Where she's brought onto the helm as well to help out as whatnot. She gets a little side adventure with Michael. That was really cool as well. I really dug that. When it took Paul and Hugh's relationship and whatnot, I really dug as well, especially Hugh and
yeah.
him becoming
Yeah, that
more
whole arc is
spiritual.
involving
Yeah,
right a spiritual kind of religious angle he took, which made a lot of sense here.
yeah, and I like how it's paired with Paul's scientific sensibilities. So I like that. It's science and super well, it's not superstition but
Spiritual,
spirituality. Like I like that. That works. Like again, I like what they do it here, right? Um, the villains themselves, well, that would be oh gosh,
Mal and Locke.
Marlon Lack. I dug for the most part, right? What I will say though, they are very lovers. It's a lovers on the run thing. They
Right.
play that, you know, it's that trope. It's the lovers on the run thing. You know what I mean? One human, one
Yeah,
alien.
the,
It's
the,
it's
the
it's
Bonnie and
like that.
Clyde. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
the Bonnie and Clyde stuff, right? Which means that there are a couple of derpy moments, especially a moment that Lack do. And when he do that, and
Yeah.
it literally was a critical mistake. I see it like, bro, like you didn't know firsthand that if you did that to yourself, that would happen. Like what are you
Right.
doing, Dred? You know what I mean? And yeah, the poor girl like, oh, I'm gonna save you. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, right? When they took Malt's character for that point, really surprised me as well, and
Right.
it led to the Breen. I didn't even know that they were in DS9. I thought they were just like
Right.
general characters, if you will. I didn't know they
No,
were
it's
part of
not
a
a side.
particular thing.
They were in DS time, but they won't explain very well or in depth in any depth. So in this they explain them. They give them a whole exploration of them. Although I don't really care because they're kind of too similar to the Klingons in my opinion. But whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, and I like that they just conquer us, and it's all taken about. It's just about conquering this, and in this case,
Yeah. Yeah.
acquiring this power. You know what I mean? That will make us powerful, and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, right? If I have one gripe, though, they set up this particular warlord, this female warlord, and you didn't see much of her. It was just a conversation scene, two conversation
Right.
scenes. I thought you'd have seen her, but she
And
wasn't there. It's like, all right.
that connected to a character I really like this season, which is the new EXO for Discovery.
Oh yes,
Right.
that would be Reina. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I was watching the faces like I know that
You from
faces.
Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, yeah. I dug the hell out of Arena. I like his style. There's a great moment where, well, basically he becomes the number one to Michael because Saru's
Yeah.
out, right? And there's a moment where he like had to introduce it. Well, the rescue crew had to introduce it. He was like, yeah, just tell me, just see what you had to say in 30 seconds, and I'll know everything about you. And everybody had to say something in 30 seconds, right? There's a nice little subplot involving him not wanting to sit in the chair. I like that I like the reasoning behind him being an asshole, pretty much, right? It makes a lot of sense. You understand why he's so stiff and so tough and whatnot. And I just like his cynicism, right? It works, but eventually he warms up to the crew because, yeah, I mean, the crew is always optimistic. I like early on, he's just like, you know what, just come up with some ideas. I don't know what to do, so yeah, come up with some ideas. Pull it off now. But in no way is no way is he lazy. He's always resourceful. He always knows what he has to do and whatnot, right? And I really dug the journey as well, in terms of just, it's like a race, yeah, it's like this puzzle pretty much, and
Right.
that's the adventures and finding these things. It's very straightforward. So even if it's done in such a way that it's so straightforward that it doesn't confuse you when you go from spot to spot and when you find it. It's a basic, hero's journey. You have to find all
Well,
these
they
items,
make
you
it,
put them
yeah.
together, and yeah,
Wide work is it's not about solving the puzzle necessarily, but what kind of person you have to be. Now they were testing your character. The super aliens, I forget the name, the progenitors.
yeah,
But it's
predators.
a couple, yeah, it's had a couple of interesting reveals because not so much the progenitors judging it, but the people who in the 24th century or 25th century who effectively figure out it was their test more than anything now in terms of testing things. So like the episode with the puzzle, I had a puzzle with a mind puzzle, which I thought was pretty cool. But it's a betazoid, right? If you know who betazoids are, they do psychic shit. It's all about solving your internal emotional states and whatever it is, and so on and so forth.
Right.
It's smarter in that way, and much more mature in that sense.
Right.
But yeah,
All right. So I'll just wrap up my spoiler-free review here, right? The last few episodes, I would just say the last three episodes though really hit it home for me. I just love how where all the arcs really stopped off and whatnot. Um, and the series finale absolutely worked for me though. I love that. Well, you'll explore more in the spoiler section, right? It would have been a gripe for me, because I just like closure when it comes to my shows, that I would have seen where the future of certain characters were. But because this world of, well, the universe, if you will, of Star Trek is so vast, you could legit see these characters pop up in other shows in the future. So
correct.
I didn't need to worry about where this character will be at this point in time, or that character, whatnot, or if this character die. It's just like, well, we'll see them, or some character related to them, or associated with them. We'll see that in the future. I have no problem with that. I think that's great, right? But where Michael's arc goes, right? I really, really love. And it leaves room open to where her part, if you will end. We'll get to that in the spoiler section, so I like that that's left open. And yeah, I mean, just the final moments of that episode was just so touching. But it's again, it's just that send off that I felt that the show absolutely deserved, man. And I mean, it totally worked for me, right? So what I'll say, right? Just getting this all the way one time. Yeah, this season was great, and I'll say something really shocking. This is actually the first Star Trek show that I genuinely love. Like, I genuinely love this show here. I feel like if I watch it over again, I could nitpick and be like, that'll work, that'll work, right? But in terms of that, no, I do see myself actually watching Next Generation. I know you want more about the first season already, Ricardo, so I'll just go online and see what the best episodes of that are, and just watch those and whatnot. But I really
Oh,
do.
you have
I
to watch
really
all of them. You have to suffer like us.
no. Why? When Watch Mojo and BuzzFeed exists, I could just see lists and ranked who's the best. All right, cool. I'll pick these three. I'll watch those three. Right? Forget watching that whole season. What? But yeah, I do see myself learning more about Star Trek and not just limiting myself to the movies. Because that's what I did. I just really limited myself to the movies. I didn't really have time for the shows when I was growing up. And I guess for me, because I was, I didn't like when it comes to TNG and Deep Space Nine. I am seeing these shows after the fact. I haven't seen those. I wasn't watching them in the late 80s. I wasn't watching them when it was on TTT. I wasn't
Right.
watching Deep Space Nine when it was on Channel 4. Sorry, I didn't. But I was watching this show while they were coming, while these episodes were out, right? So I guess that's why it impacts me so much, right? But again, this show kind of showing me, yeah, this is why this franchise will again stand the test of time. This is not going anywhere anytime soon. So I want to learn more. I'm gonna watch these shows and I'm gonna learn more about this universe. Hell, I'm gonna actually watch Strange New Worlds because I only saw the series premiere of that. I haven't watched
Right.
any other episodes from that, unfortunately. I just didn't get the time, right? And then if I feel the need to recap Star Trek Discovery, then I could say, yeah, but nah, this don't work, and no, nah. So I could understand the nitpickiness of the show. I could understand that with Trekkies, right? But as a newcomer, as fairly a newcomer, I got the gist of it. I got what the show was going for. I got what it was trying to do, and I think that it just succeeded, right? Even with the little missteps here and there, right? And yeah, this season pretty much kind of was the culmination of all of that. Was the trial and error, more or less going back, harking back to the old shows, and this, yeah, just reminding the world why this franchise matters. legit matters, right? For one thing, just the optimism and heart that is put into the show, I really love. The representation, as I mentioned before, I actually admire the LGBTQ representation here, whether it's non-binary characters or queer characters. I like what they did there, right? And just how they just take the stuff that we know kind of just offer pop culture when it comes to Star Trek and exploring it in really fascinating ways, and that's where you really get to me a great character in the form of Michael Burnham and her conflicts and how she resolves them and how she moves forward and whatnot, right? So yeah, long story short, absolutely love the season, and when we get to the end, I'll just share my final thoughts on the show here. But I pretty much say how I felt about the show in general. But yeah, for me, this season just kind of nailed it. I love it. This is going to be my top 10 for sure. Just giving a rating one time, just for the season, and I'll give a rating of the show itself. This for me gets a strong 4 to like 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoy this. This is one of the year's best shows as seasons, well, TV seasons, I would say. And yeah, I felt this was a hell of a way to close off what I think, in my opinion, is a great Star Trek show. Say, Ricardo, you have the floor. Black alert. Ha ha ha. Take it away. Tell me how wrong I am. You know what I mean? And then
Right,
we'll get
I largely agree. I'll say I'll just get into the season itself and how I felt about it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it about as much as I did season 4. It was a bit pat in terms of its like the final message and what it was about and what it was trying to say, in my humble opinion. But it still worked as a finale, and the season itself was decent. It's a shame that the show had to end here because I really thought the show was getting into its own at season 4. I really thought they would have bad cleanup by season 7, which is all the other mainline Star Trek shows had 7 seasons. TNG, DS9, and Voyager had 7 seasons. And I really thought Discovery was going to get a 7th season, but it ends here and it's unfortunate. But where it ends is good stuff, and they clearly they could build going forward the way they set things up. More than likely, I know we get a student show, or some Star Trek student show, academy type show. We know that coming.
It's Starfleet Academy, right? Is that
right? It's coming soon enough. So there was pitching that show for a long time, since like about 40 years ago. So they finally gone.
And I would love if it is Tilly and the group that we were introduced to in season 4. I would love if it's them,
So they could do something like that. But yeah, I dug this for what it was trying to do, and say I didn't have any major issues with anything in that sense. But yeah, as I said, the final message or the final thing was a little part. You could see all the seams in terms of the ending. And then, well, I personally enjoyed what they did with a couple of big character reveals. So yeah, they finally answered the final answer involving Kovic, like who Kovic is.
Yes. And I'll confess something there. When they make that reveal, I had to go on a Star Trek wiki. I was like,
yep, you had to look it up.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I knew who he was because I remember watching. I knew he was because I watch Enterprise. So yeah,
yes.
he's a main factor.
He's from Enterprise. I swear he was from TNG as well. Like
no,
I thought he was on other shows. Okay.
No, he's from Enterprise. He's basically the main soldier in the Temporal Cold War. Right. So Agent Daniels.
Right.
Right.
I guess at this point here we could get into spoilers. So yes, right. Black alert again. EU. So yeah, Ricardo, you could continue on making mention spoilers at this point.
Well, it's not too major of a spoiler. It's just a second spoiler that they address later. So yeah, I don't know. Solid send off. They paid off. So the second big payoff is that they pay off Calypso. If you know what Calypso is, so Calypso was a short trick they did years ago. I think right after season 1, and nobody understood the continuity of that. But so go look up some clips. So I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Basically, it's starring your boy Alice Hodge, I think, using this. He played a character in the future called Cash. But they explain what happened. It's another quote unquote red directive secret mission. So they make it make sense. So that folds it up workably well, given who is involved and is Agent Daniels and how you'd have future information. Right. We get that, right? So they have to explain away more of Agent Daniels and who Kovic was. That makes sense. So they address that. That's it. You can see the seams and stitches with the editing at the end, especially the ending, but it had some solid emotional beats at the end. I thought that last scene with Michael Burnham and Book in the house and who shows up, I thought that was good.
Right.
I really
what question, right? Is well, okay. So since we spoil territory, right? So yes, it his their son, comes down, right?
Right.
And at this point in time, Michael is an admiral, right? So question has the son appeared in other Star Trek shows?
Nope. Brand new character, seen for the first time.
Great. Nice. Just making sure.
His name is Leto. I don't know if there's a Dune reference.
Oh,
But
I know, right? Yeah.
no, I don't know if his name is Leto Booker or Leto Burnham. Don't know. It'll work one way or the other. But I just love the outfits. Those outfits in the future are pretty cool. I want more of those.
Yes. Hmm.
Pretty damn cool actually. Yeah. Yeah. As I said, is a shame. So yeah, it's a solid outing for a season. It would work as a season, not really as a series finale, but a good season finale. It works. Mal and Locke and their whole thing and that whole drama was good. Raina is a big standout for me. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And they had all these little
But you like what I was saying with his character and just
yeah.
how Derek he is, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Well, the whole point is
yeah.
like he kind of like a early Burnham, and they do that because they had this cool time travel episode that reference season one, which I liked.
Yes, that was
So
cool. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and so on and so forth, and they make it work. I just was enjoying the season, the whole chase and the whole solving the puzzle and all that solid stuff. But again, as a season it works, but not as a final thing, not so much. I wish we could have get more, and they kind of hinted at more later on, but we'll probably never get that,
Right.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Well, that's a few things before we get to Return, right? As we still in spoiler territory, right? About that finale, right? So as I said, I just love how like with the wedding with Tarina and Saru,
right.
how it's just simple. You don't see no wedding ceremony, blah blah blah. That's cool, right? But I like the fact, well, just for one thing, nobody in the main crew died though. Like I was concerned
No,
that
that's right.
like I was
Star
concerned
Trek don't
that
kill people.
like I thought he was gonna die, like the way how
No.
he was setting it up, like, oh, you know what I mean? I know I have
They
to do
Star
this,
Trek, Star Trek don't kill people. It's hardly like if they kill somebody, that'll be like really unlikely. They kill one
All right.
person, and that was an Enterprise, and that was stupid, and
Oh,
that was
okay.
real dutish. Not
Yeah.
real dumb. Star Trek don't kill
So
people. They,
yeah, so I like the fact that like for me I like closure, right? So like I don't know, if it was a different show, I'd been like, okay, so what happened to Saru? What happened
nah.
to Paul and Hugh? You know what I mean? But I like that it didn't really say that. It just we will see these characters in another
Right, they
show,
just
I
leave
guess.
everything open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just leave everything open, right?
Right.
So that leads to Michael, right? So you could tell me if I'm wrong, right? But this whole final mission thing, right?
Right.
I'm assuming that it's either this mission or like after the mission is done. I suspect that she might actually take up the progenitor. No, sorry, not the progenitor, or the person who was safeguarding the progenitor's tech.
We
I
don't
feel
know.
that she'll actually go there, though. Like once everything
Well,
is
that's the thing. We
done,
don't
she'll
know. They
just
don't.
go.
When they leave it, they didn't really say because the final mission was really the red directive involving things. So it looked like that technology was destroyed. Like that was it. It wasn't
Okay,
coming back. Whatever.
all right, okay. Well,
Really matter.
that's
The
all.
thing is,
But
the
all right.
progenitors powerful, but they're not that powerful. They also hint at another race. Given what Michael was doing in the final episode of those windows going into other worlds, there's a race called the Iconians. They also have like that Windows thing. That's a TNG. You'll see them in TNG and DS9. But that's one or two moments in TNG and DS9. I think they're in season 2 of TNG. You might find them. But yeah, they look like it hint that they have Iconian technology. Because the thing is, another big reveal is that the progenitor said they didn't build that place. They found it. So it's going even further than them now. So like, all right, okay, that is a big reveal that open up the universe again now. Whatever.
Yeah,
Moving on.
and just one minor gripe though, and just one little factor that I want to lay right before we get to your final thoughts. Sorry for interrupting there, right? One gripe though, I felt we could have seen what happened to oh gosh, to Locke though, because
Oh no, he died. He dead.
right. Oh, okay. Well, because
Yeah,
the
and they
whole
could.
thing with
Well,
Maul was trying to get him
no, she
to save
explained.
him,
She
but it didn't
explained
really.
that they can bring them back to life. You could have replaced Locke, but you wouldn't have bring back Locke. You can't bring back. Did she
Right.
say that? So that's why
Okay.
Burnham said, "Look,
All
we
right.
can't save him now. You won't
Yeah.
bring. If you bring back somebody, you just bring back a clone. That's it.
Right.
So
Okay. Well. I guess the reason why I
she
felt a
said
little
so.
let down by that is because that was her driving force. It was like, all right, I
Yeah.
needed
So
to
she could
get
ready.
here to save him, and then ultimately it was
Nah,
like, well, you
she
can't.
failed.
So okay.
No, it's
Yeah.
about tragic. It's a tragic love story. She failed.
All right. Yeah.
They leave it
Even
in.
though to be fair, yeah, Luck was kind of stupid when he inject himself. He inject
Whatever.
too much of that serum. It's like, bro, like you
Moving on.
supposed to do this shit though. Anyway, right? And this little factoid here, because it's so funny I'm bringing this up here because I was considering doing a retrospect review of it, but I kind of scrapped the idea. Sorry. Not only did this show kind of wrap up around the same time that the anniversary of Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, came out, right? Years ago. But also what is universally known as the worst Star Trek movie. 5, right?
Well, no, I don't think it's the worst one, but yeah,
Okay, yeah. Well, 10 is
but
the worst for you, right?
that is the
But
worst one. Yeah.
but I just find it so interesting that it wasn't like how 5 was about a search for God. This one was
Right.
a search for the people who made,
Right. The
humanoid
problem is
creatures
that we
in this
see the problem
universe.
is that we
It's
see
kind of
more
interesting.
powerful. Problem is that we kind of see more powerful entities in the Star Trek universe, namely the Q. So that's why this was kind of underwhelming for me. I don't know.
Okay,
They're
okay.
right. They're not that interesting. They
All
are
right.
right. They were a
Okay,
lot more boring than I thought
okay,
they would be.
but the way how they market this in quotes, right? It's like,
Mhm.
my God, these are like the most powerful
Right.
beings ever. You know what I mean? But you telling me they're not,
Early.
so okay.
Yeah, not early.
All right. But yeah, a final thoughts rating, and I'll just give like just brief thoughts on the whole show itself and rate that,
Right.
and you can end things off, be all tricky with it and tell me what you think about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
correct. Yeah.
show itself, right? But yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts and rating on the season.
Yeah, this season, 8 out of 10, a low 8. I mean, I wish they could have do more with the premise. Premise was, they could have fleshed it out a little better and make this work. As I said, I felt the Breen could have been more interesting. They just felt like Klingons. They felt like Klingons, they kind of explain them away. They explain a couple of things that, from a world building standpoint, make sense in retrospect on DS9, because the whole liquid solid thing was interesting, because if you know the villains in DS9, they were liquid, so you could understand why they kind of team up with them. I get it. There's little small stuff like that. Whatever. Uh, it's fine. Moving on with that. Well, I'll just overall as a season, it's fine. I wasn't. I wish it could have done more, but it wasn't great, and it was fine. I'll talk about it. We could talk about it. Discovery as a show and its legacy. In the context of the franchise. But yeah, that's just me. So you just go ahead and I'll wrap up.
All right. So the show as a whole, for me, I'm gonna give this a light 4.5 out of 5. Um, and I don't know, it just kind of impact me in a really strange way, right? Because again, when Next Generation and Deep Space Nine were going on TV, I just never bothered to watch them, right? So I was late. I was like totally late to the party, right? Again, just a few years ago, I finally checked out, TOS, right? And that is because of this show here. This show kind of put me on to, yeah, why this show has endured for decades on, right? And why it will continue to do so, right? I felt like it was uh logical, if you will, progression from the Kelvin timeline. I think that's what it's called again, you know what I mean, from the J.J. Abrams stuff. So
Well,
again, it just kind of
aesthetically,
took the
it's not the
stuff
same
that
timeline. It's not the same
no,
timeline, but it's aesthetically, yeah, they clearly pulled from Gigi.
okay, no, well, I mean, like, I know there's a specific name to JJ's trilogy. I just can't remember what it is. I
The
think it's
Kelvin timeline.
Kelvin. That's what it's called.
The,
Okay, just making
well,
sure.
is the Kelvin timeline or the AO timeline, AOS, alternate original series.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because yes, while and I know I know that trilogy is divisive among diehard fans, but I enjoy them for what they are, for popcorn entertainment, for what they are, right? But that for me, again, just brought style to it, brought flair to it, right? Because I guess people prior to that was just thinking, oh, Star Trek is just old school style approach it, right? And that one just brought a sort of like a sheen to it, right? But this one, Discovery, took that sheen now, but brought back the same elements that made those old Star Trek shows work, right? And just meshed it together into a brilliant show, right? In my opinion, right? Again, I feel like if I just learn more about the world of Star Trek, then I could go back to the show and be like, nitpick this, blah, 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 right? But I think that just as an entry point, just I is weird, right? As an entry point to Star Trek, this work, man, and this for me is why Discovery will always stand out to me, right? And I do hope that over the years I will check out the other Star Trek shows and really learn about this world, right? So when the next Star Trek show comes out, yeah, I will have a lot of I will know a lot, right? Like legit today I didn't even know that very soon we're gonna get this pretty much this spin-off with Miguel Michelle Yeoh in it, right?
Right.
Called
There's a
Section
movie here too.
21, right? Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
I
movie.
don't know when that's coming out, but
I have no
I
idea
I
what
want to
happened
see
with
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean? So thank you, Discovery, for literally putting me on and reminding me, in a sense, of why, Star Trek again will last, will stand the test of time, right? And I'll close this, right? As far as where, future, Star Trek shows go, I will be keeping my ear to the ground for these things. I do hope that Paramount Plus stays on, so at least we could see these shows. It has a home there. Because yeah, you know what I mean. Again, this franchise is not going anywhere, right? To the point, and I'll close this, right? And forgive me, folks. Again, not a Trekkie. I haven't seen Stranger World, so maybe it was introduced there. The mere fact that they do something similar to Star Wars, where it has its own little intro, like own Star Trek intro.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that. I was
that
like, yeah,
works, yeah.
all right,
Every one of them
we
have a
reach.
different one. So like
Yeah.
the animators do their own thing,
Okay.
Discoveries do its own thing where it is do the jump, and then things do one. Strange Worlds and what do you call it? The animated series. I forget the new one.
Oh,
Oh, and both animated shows have their own thing. Yes, the
right,
same.
right, right.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah. So that was really nice as well, right? Really, really remind me of like what Star Wars doing right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's so interesting. And I'll close with this, and I'm gonna shut up, right? It's so interesting, right? And I guess you'll pat me back for this one, Ricardo. Um, Star Wars love to go to the past to tell their stories, and Star Trek is all about the future, bro.
Right. Yeah,
That
mostly.
that is the best compliment I could give this franchise, man. So yeah, Star Trek, keep going, man. Keep going, keep inspiring, keep amusing us, man. You know what I mean? And yeah, again, this is gonna stand the test of time, man. And thank
Yeah.
you, Discovery, for showing me this, right?
Right.
But yeah, gush enough about this. But yeah, you the Trekkie, though, close things off.
Yeah,
And what you think
Discovery is
about
a show
Discovery
that
as a whole?
Discovery is a show that came in a weird time, especially with the Trump election and all of that, culture war stuff, and why it was the way it was. I felt it could have been a little more nuanced, but whatever. Soapboxers gonna soapbox. You're supposed to do it. Star Trek not really was never really meant to be nuanced anyway. It's a very didactic show, and it's supposed to tut here from the future with respect to that. And to be fair, the writers themselves also, especially with DS9, critique its own premise and its own conceit with time, right, and with its evolution. And what I do like about Discovery, as you mentioned, it is that it actually started to feel really progressive on the social level. Like, oh, look where all the gay people are, right? Look where all the trans people are. Look where all the non-binary people are. So on and so forth, right? There's an episode of TNG that's so bad when it comes to gender stuff. And I just thought that and I could see we could blame Rick Berman, but yeah, you could see from since then to now and how never really handled this material. And under is all Rick Berman, you could probably blame Rick Berman. But most of it is like, they never really evolved the material in a good way. Like you could understand why Trek was the way it was back when Gene Roddenberry was doing it in TOS times, because that was all about race. It was doing it during the civil rights era. Everything had to be about race. He didn't have a good workable conceit of gender at all. And yes, Gene was frankly, a bit of a sexist, right? Himself, right? I forget who make this joke, but what Gene thought about sex was yes, please, right? So they evolved from that. And but for me, especially as a black man, black men are always represented pretty well, but women not represented well at all. Women have always been written horribly, right? Especially black women, not really spelled done particularly well. And then, the last 5 years or so, we get three great black female characters coming up, right? Michael Burnham, Mariner, and then Mariner's mom, right? And they make these conceits work so well in terms of building, in terms of that direction of the material and where it evolves. And then we finally get to see these conceits. And it's whether or not you feel good about Michael Burnham or how you feel about the character. I do think the character is a bit, for lack of a better term, a bit overdetermined to the narrative. A lot of people call it
What you
Star
mean?
Trek
You
syndrome.
mean overly optimistic?
No, overdeterminate, meaning that
Oh,
she dominated the narrative too much. Like in terms of, like, I feel
oh,
like
okay,
this.
okay, I understand. Sorry, yeah.
If you like, okay, if you watch TNG and you don't like Data, that is not a problem. You can still watch TNG. If you don't like Michael Burnham, I don't know how you can enjoy Discovery. To be honest, like I can't see
Yeah,
like in
like
this.
it is legit all about her.
It's
Like
too much, right?
sorry.
The
Yeah.
story has been a little bit too much about it, to be honest. And I felt the show could have diverged about from that, in my humble opinion. That's the biggest problem I have with the show. I still don't like that she's Spock's sister. I still think that's dumb. Like, she should have just been her own thing. And I'm in the camp
I
that think that the
know.
show should have
Yeah.
started in the 32nd century. Like, instead of doing this whole TOS stuff. But I get why they did it. And, like, my attitude was, it should have started in the TOS era in season 1, and then they should have go to the 32nd century. But they had to do season 2, because season 2 is this extended backdoor pilot for Strange New Worlds to have an excuse as to why Pike and them in the narrative now, whatever. And yeah, they had to test kitchen that for the audience because everybody loved it. So great. we get that, and we get this, and we get Strange New Worlds, and Strange New Worlds so far has been a solid show for me. So I not like I don't super love it, but I like it for what it is, but it does represent some of the worst aspect of Star Trek writing, in my humble opinion, in terms of going kind of regressive and basically kind of just eating the Orville lunch. That's how I feel about Strange New Worlds. As for Discovery, yeah, when they went to the future, I don't really love the concept of the burn, and I thought the resolution of that was pretty lame. Like the whole is a kid and he get mad and basically the thing is like Ezo now, dilithium is Ezo now because it's affected by psychic powers, whatever. But season 4 is when to me the show really came onto its own. It just did a new thing. It come up with a simple idea, it's not new, brand new, and it more reminded you of the big sci-fi ideas of the movies, the early movies, especially with
Yes,
Gene
yes.
stuff. Like Gene just had these big weird ideas. The first movie, like season 4 of Discovery, felt like like the TMP, like the motion picture movie, and which is an incredibly underrated movie in my opinion. Like the only thing that
Okay.
hurts that movie is the bad editing, is the
All right.
length. Like
Yeah,
they tell you,
I never saw it, but I heard it's
that's
very
that's
lengthy.
like its
Like it
only
feels
problem.
lengthy. Yeah.
That's its only problem. It clearly had Kubrick envy at the time, and they wanted to say, "Oh well, we need to make it long and slow like that film." But that movie is purposeful. That had purpose to its edits. This didn't. That's why that movie don't work. And I've seen fan edits of TMP that are great. Like, oh, that's how you should have edited that movie. But yeah, same thing with Discovery. Discovery, I thought season 4 was really, what I really enjoyed. That mystery was great. And when they resolve it, not meant to blow your mind or anything like that. Just good storytelling. In my humble opinion, it was solid storytelling. I enjoyed it. It paced well. I dug what the mystery was. You get the emotional beat with Book and his losing his people. All of that work. This season also did the same thing, right? A big mystery, time to solve it, but it was more about Michael Burnham getting into final thing and her having to go through her. She had to basically they give you a galaxy-wide therapy session, and it works, right? And they make that work, and they come together with the material. And overall, as I said, it's a shame that we don't get 2 more seasons with this, because I felt the show was really getting to its own, and we could get 2 more seasons to bat clean up and really flow well and flow better, and finish up the show better. But I'm still ultimately happy for what it is. Because another show ending this year too. Lord X, right? Sad to say it. Also 5 seasons, and it's kind of interesting that ending too. And I don't know what's going on, if they're still renewing Prodigy or not, but we still have to get season 2 of Prodigy. So the franchise is in a strange, precarious position right now. Um, I don't know what's going on, but we get the Starfleet Academy show. I can't good conscience say I'm too hyped for that, but I want to see more to the second century stuff anyway. That was always my attitude. As for the future of the franchise, I have always felt that Star Trek should become genuinely progressive and become much more anarchic in its approach, aka, yeah, we should have less Starfleet. Like, one of the big problems with Star Trek was it used to kind of cater to the implicit militarism of Starfleet, and I'm not a fan of that. And I really want something either non-Starfleet or at least Starfleet adjacent, vaguely Starfleet adjacent, to tell a story. Either outright non-Starfleet and have some anarchy type scenario with the future storytelling and all that future technology, or you do something like a medical show where it's Starfleet adjacent. You do a medical show. You maybe do the Martian space stuff, which is a very old idea they was pushing for a long time. Maybe the Starfleet Academy show is another old idea they was pushing, but I'm not excited for that. But we'll see. I don't want anything involved with the 22nd, the 23rd century, 24th century, 21st century. Sorry, 7 of 9. I don't want your show. I don't really care for that show. They might still push that, but I don't really care for it. I want 32nd century stuff. We'll see. Also, I want them to like do more extra galactic stuff. Like all of this bullshit still going on in the Milky Way. We need to leave the Milky Way, or get bigger, or get weirder, or get out there. And they kind of hint at that with this the progenitors technology and what it could or can't do. Maybe. Yeah, it's a good place to where the franchise is, because it evolved. Finally feels like it evolved for better or for worse. You don't have to like Kurtzman, the Kurtzman era, but I think the Kurtzman era is largely overhated, and I get why it exists the way it does, because back when JJ did, and we in the 15th anniversary of Star Trek '09, uh, why that film existed the way it did is because, yeah, people need to add butts in seats. People understand that the franchise effectively died, right? Star Trek Enterprise was cancelled, and Star Trek 10 was just a disaster at the box office, and the franchise died. Like, straight up, the 40th anniversary was really, for me, the 40th anniversary of Star Trek was a true lowest point. And so they had to do something. And as I say, the only mistake they make with the J.J. Abrams stuff is giving him a second movie. He shouldn't have gotten a second movie. He should have just got one movie and then give somebody else a second movie. Whatever. That is it. I didn't super love this. It's a show I get why it exists the way it did. And I still had some issues with the writing, especially the early days. But for the most part, I thought with season 4 and 5 they were getting into the home, and I really wish it got more. It's a shame it got cancelled. But as it is, a good ending. I love the outfits. I really want to see more of that. Yeah, like Leto Booker show, right? Leto Booker as captain, or Leto. Well, I don't know his last name exactly. Leto Burnham or Leto Booker. A Leto Booker show could work, right? Maybe we could see. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Overall, as a show, yeah, rating about a 7 out of 10. In total, I really wish they could have gel things up together and make it a little smarter in terms of writing, and not make Michael so overly committed to the narrative. And you'll see what I'm talking about when you watch TNG and DS9, right? Where they really nail the ensemble with those shows, especially DS9. Yes, Cisco is the star, but no, they really have some great episodes that have no Cisco in it, and some true classics, stuff like that. Moving on. Yeah, that's how I feel about Discovery. I really wish we got more, but it's a show that I never hated or anything like that. And it's a shame that all the discourse got poisoned by culture or crap. But for the most part, it's a show I appreciated, and it's a shame that we didn't get more of it.
Right. And I am curious to see the legacy of this show in particular, right? See
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it has wrapped up, right?
Because the show is a lot more popular than people give it credit for. I said that bullshitters were saying shit like, oh, well, the show, they hide the ratings and it's actually unpopular and so on. So, not true. There are a lot of people who actually like the show a lot more than people give it credit for. It's a lot more popular than people. It's just internet crap now. Internet noise will make you think the show worse than it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I understand. But yeah, man, Star Trek Discovery is over, but with the franchise, I tell you, is gonna live on, man. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from here, man.
All right.